What's going on, everybody? This is the End of the Flow podcast. I'm Joel Lamb, and I am joined by Joseph Keenan Mays. Kind of gave it away a little bit. His name is not just Keenan, it's Joseph Keenan Mays. How's it going, Keenan?
Well, there's actually three names: Joseph William Keenan Mays.
Oh, wow. I've done my research.
Well,
So,
that's okay. You got close enough. I just go by Keenan.
okay, cool. So your business name is Mays Window Cleaning, and you're out of Paducah, Kentucky, right?
That's correct.
Cool. So how long have you been cleaning windows, Keenan?
About 6 years, I would say. A little more than that. Probably almost getting to 7.
Oh, wow. That's a long time. How long have you owned your own business?
This is probably, I think this is like my 3rd year,
Okay.
actually. We've had so much has gone on this past year. It's just like things have kind of blurred for me just a little bit.
Yeah, I understand. This is our 3rd year too. So we're kind of like, our businesses are kind of like growing together. We're paced. I think we started about the same time. So
Yeah.
I go back quite a bit. We've known each other for a long time. How did you get into window cleaning, Keenan?
Well, me and Shanna, my wife, we were married, I think it was like our 3rd year of marriage or so. And I had worked for doing flooring for a number of years for a guy I knew in my Kingdom Hall. And then started doing something differently because it was starting to kind of wear down on me physically. Then I took the bright idea of going into doing mechanical repair at a machine shop. And while the pay was very good, it was also extremely tolling, like time-wise. You were on call 24/7.
Right.
But I did tech support at an internet company after that. But then it was just not working out. And your dad actually called me up and offered me a job. And this was out of the blue. Like I wasn't really searching for something, but it was just like, it came at just like the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just like, nah, I wouldn't mind doing it. Because I remember how you guys talked about doing your work and everything. And one of our friends, David, he was one of my roommates that did window cleaning before me and Shanna got married. He was my roommate. And I thought, you know what? I need to find something that, I can stick with. I don't want to keep looking for it wasn't like I was looking for the perfect job, but it was just like, I want something that I would enjoy and would be sustainable for us.
Right. So you weren't married yet when you had started.
Oh no, I was married when we started window cleaning.
Okay. So you were married. So, so my dad reached out to you and offered you a job kind of out of the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how did window cleaning, because it sounds like you've done quite a lot of other things besides cleaning glass, and a lot of people have, but it's kind of interesting for somebody like me. Like I grew up around the industry, and I have done other things, but like I don't have a whole lot to compare it to. I've only done a few other trades or professions other than this. So how does window cleaning compare to some of the other trades that you've been in?
Well, some people have the perception that, oh, that's an easy job. And it, compared to other jobs that I've had, yes, it's much easier than being under a grapple trying to repair the treads on a grapple, and the taking one tread off, it takes you about an hour because you're torching the pins off of it and trying to put a new motor on the tread. It's a lot easier than that. But it's still it can be a physically demanding job depending on your workload and what you're doing.
Yeah.
But as far as like other jobs, to me, it's so much more relaxing for me. For me personally, it is.
Yeah. It can definitely have its stresses. Sometimes we don't always have to deal with like customer relations, but sometimes we do, and it's not always fun. Have you ever had like a customer, like a difficult one?
Yeah, I've had a house job that kind of became difficult because the way I was cleaning the windows, they had a previous person service their windows, and they wanted it done a certain way, like from ladder work, and I was doing it from a pole.
Hmm.
And the I guess the groundskeeper, he wasn't very happy about that. And at first, we were talking, we were kind of in agreement of how we were going to do it, but at first we were just like, well, I mean, if you don't want us to do the job, we don't have to,
Right.
because it wouldn't have upset us either way. But he finally just kind of chilled out and let us do the job.
I try as much as possible to, like my old boss used to tell me to um, under promise and over perform, you know.
Hmm.
So I always try. I don't always get it right, but I do try. Like especially if we do like water fed pole stuff, um,
Hmm.
I try to let the customer know that when we leave, most likely the glass will still be wet, but that's okay, you know. And so
Yeah.
I try to like circumvent or mitigate potential complaints. Doesn't
Yeah.
always work. If people know me, they know I'm sometimes a bit of a space case, and I yeah, we've had a lot of history together, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I can be a little bit forgetful.
Yeah. You did have a record of leaving clothes at my apartment at times.
Yeah, we grew up and
I
hung out.
remember you leave a hoodie or something like that. And I think one was there for like 2 months, and I finally was like, he came over one time to visit. I was like, get this out of here. It's been here long enough.
I'd mentioned before that um, when I had first started, like I was a kid, you know, and
Hmm.
I've done a lot of growing up since then. But I mentioned before, like sometimes we would go and like we would work for a few hours, but then we'd like break off and go to the skate park or something like that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I finally had time to listen to that podcast interview you had, and that was really interesting. I got to learn a lot more from
I
you.
think it was probably David. We were going to the skate park.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Um, so so you work with your wife, right? With Shanna?
Yeah. When we first started, she was working with me a lot more regularly, but she she still does work with me when I have like a very busy week, and it would make the load a lot lighter for me. And I'll still have her work with me occasionally. At first, she was working with me pretty regularly, but now she likes to take care of things around the house a lot more.
Hmm.
She enjoys doing those kind of things. And so we have a kind of an agreement where she kind of takes care of the things around the house, and then I'll take care of she's been starting to take more of like the documentation aspects of the business. Like she handles the taxes, which I could not get probably could not get my head around that for a little while unless somebody trained me on how to do that. Um, but then she also I've been showing her how to do the invoices, because I was doing a lot of that as well, besides making my own schedule.
Yeah. That's something that Lindsay and I do. My wife, we kind of share responsibilities. So we trade off the different things. You know, so there's areas that I'm not really good at, like doing the taxes. Like she's really good at prioritizing tasks for me, and then she's also really good at like the data entry, following up with customers, estimates. There's a whole bunch of really valuable things, and we kind of like share responsibilities. And it seems like that's kind of the case with a lot of other businesses where it's a husband wife ownership. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, one is good better in another area than the other, and they kind of share roles. So is that kind of how it is for you? Shanna's kind of better at like the office management.
Yeah, and I think like this past week, I had so much work that I had to take care of, and I had invoices that I had to send out, and it was a pretty good list of invoices I had to send out. And um, I had shown her how to do it in the past, and I was just like so like exhausted from work and taking care of some other things I had been projects I've been working on besides window cleaning. And I asked her if she could help me take care of it. And I got home from a pretty extensive work I had to do, and she had already taken care of every single invoice for me.
Wow.
So that was
That's
just like a huge weight off my
yeah,
mind.
yeah. Having a good teammate can be super effective and valuable.
Absolutely.
So what do you guys use to do your invoices? Um,
We use QuickBooks Self-Employed.
mhm.
It was just I didn't have a good computer at the time, and so it could work off of our phone and our tablet, and it was easy to the templates it makes for invoices was easy enough for me to set it up and send it off.
Yeah. Um, that's one of the things that I had mentioned. I hear people talking about is, like having a system that kind of automates or makes it easier to do that stuff, like following up with your customers, estimates, invoices, customer database. And then of course you're already using QuickBooks. So you've got something to enter in your expenses and get your taxes ready for the end of the year. So is that
Mhm.
is that something that you would recommend to somebody that's kind of starting out as a program or a system like that?
Yeah, and I mean it's in certain aspects. I mean, QuickBooks is not necessarily automatic. You have to type out the what's going to be inside the invoice for pricing and everything. I know like House Call Pro has a lot more automation, but I don't really have any experience with it. But I think for starting off, especially if you don't mind being hands-on with
Mhm.
some of the aspects with it, I think it's a pretty good starter program, at least for your getting your feet wet, so to speak.
All right. That kind of brings me to another thing is, so this is your third year in business, but you kind of started out a little bit differently. You didn't, not all of your customers that you started out with were customers that you went, and door knocked on or did flyers. You actually purchased um, like a client list. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. I did. So what had happened, the company I had worked for, um, they had a lot more work than they could handle. It was just, it wasn't necessarily their fault. It's just, that was just how it worked. We just built up so much clientele and we didn't have enough employees to keep it all going. And so it was just so stressful that they just decided it would probably be best to try to cut it down, like the clientele list. And so Shanna and me were working for that company, and we decided to purchase some of our route, not all of the route that we were
Right.
doing, but just some of it. And we added up, how much we would be able to make off of it by ourselves and everything. I was like, this should be enough for us to handle taking care of our expenses and to sustain ourselves.
Hmm. So you kind of already had you already were familiar with your customers. They knew you. You were
Hmm.
on there servicing them. So was it easy transition to go from one service provider to now a new one? Was that how did that process go?
So what we did is the company we worked for, we ended on good terms with them. And so what we did is, we discussed with them how the transition would go. And so they actually wrote a letter for us and said, we're sorry to see you guys go, but these two people have been servicing your windows already for maybe, depending on, they didn't really change it up too much, the letter, because it was just easy something for me to hand to the customers to let them know what was going on, just so they would be informed. We just told them we purchased our route from them, so now we're independent, but you know price is not going to adjust at all. You're still going to get the same frequency of service as you were getting before.
That seems pretty easy. Um, so you already were familiar with the pricing with the customers and everything like that.
Yes, and so what happened was, when we had offered to purchase some of our route, what we had discussed with the company what we wanted, And so we kind of went back and forth of what they were okay with selling us and what they didn't want to sell.
Mhm.
And so we came up with a list, and then uh, I'm sorry, came up with a list, and then we discussed with them how much we were going to purchase it for, but then also to the uh, I'm so sorry, I'm losing my foot point.
Oh no, that's okay. So has
But
your go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, you've it sounds like you guys um you didn't want to bite off more than what you could chew, was what it sounds like. So you didn't even
Yeah,
all of the route that you were doing, and I'm assuming it's mostly like commercial route, right? Not residential.
yeah, yeah. My 90% of my work is commercial.
Oh, wow.
I have some residential, but some of them get done every 6 months. I've had some get done every 4 months, and some they'll just call me when they want me to come, and they may have me come twice a year or maybe 3 times.
Hmm. So that's interesting. A lot of people in our industry, it's like 50-50. It's interesting to hear
Mhm.
somebody who's 90% commercial. Um, so that must is that keeping you busy year round through the winter?
Yes, it does. That's one thing I do like about it is, like, I understand, like, residential, you obviously can make a lot more money, but
Sometimes
mo-
high ticket jobs or something like that.
right. And the bad thing about it is that you may only do that job once a year
Right.
versus a commercial job can be done once a month, every 2 weeks, or every 3 months. It just depends on whatever the customer wants. And so it keeps me steady throughout the year.
Yeah. And I'm pretty familiar with the area where you guys live. Like your route, it's not like you guys drive like an hour to get to your route, right? Like it's pretty.
No, what's actually really nice is I don't live very far from my route. Like, it's a 2 mile, like, to go from my house to downtown is 2 miles.
Mhm.
But even before I get to 2 miles, not even that far, I've already got probably like 12 jobs, five or in between, like 6 to 12 jobs I can do right there before I get to the edge of Paducah,
Oh,
or
wow.
to the edge of downtown.
That's great. That's super good. Kind of where we live, the town that we live in, we do some commercial route work, but it's such a small town, we can't really live off that. And our market is a little bit oversaturated with window cleaners that are doing the commercial route
Hmm.
anyway. So um, we do a lot of traveling. So when we it'd be hard for us to make it like that, but I could see how that would be extremely convenient. I'm sure your mileage on your vehicle is very low for work, right?
Yeah, it is. Right. Yeah. Right now, my work vehicle is, I share with my wife right now until we're able to. That was actually our goal this year, was to get a work vehicle, but because of COVID, that kind of shelved it for this year. And so we're just going to wait till hopefully next year, which we haven't really, our work wasn't severely impacted during COVID. Like, we did stop working for about 2 months,
Oh, wow.
or either about a month and a half to about 2 months,
Hmm.
just because a lot of places were shut down. I think I could count on my hands the amount of jobs that I could do.
Hmm.
And it was like, it wasn't worth it. And so I sent emails out to my clients and said, look, that since this stuff is raging right now, it's best if we just try to do our part in flattening the curve at the time,
Right.
to not. And we're out constantly around businesses, and
Right.
so we did, that could put kind of a risk if you're not careful. And so that's why we decided to just kind of take a break. And we did file for unemployment, which thankfully we were able to. It helped us through it.
Yeah. Did you Did you get any of the grants or PPP or anything like that?
We actually didn't pursue that.
Yeah.
We like we had done the unemployment for a couple weeks, and
Hmm.
then as we finally were able to get it, because it did take us some time in Kentucky to get it because they were just so bombarded with people filing for it. Once we started getting it, things were starting to slowly open back up, and I kind of tested one week. I said, let me try and see how many jobs are open. I said, if there's any places that are going to be comfortable with us coming back,
Hmm.
then I'll just start trying to get back to work.
Hmm.
And within about a week and a half, for like 2 weeks, I was basically able to get back almost to all my jobs.
Wow.
There were still a few that were like, let's hold off for just a little bit longer, but that didn't bother me at all. It's just, given with everything going on, I could totally understand kind of wanting to pause for a little bit.
So I mean, it sounds like in the beginning it was a pretty big hit to your business. It was mostly commercial. A lot of, I remember a lot of restaurants and places where people would gather here in Kentucky, they totally just closed it down. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that was a large hit, but at the same time, there's a lot of other businesses out there who they're saying that this year is like a record-breaking year for their sales. And maybe that's because they've pivoted, maybe they've marketed in a different way. Um, for you guys, how has this year kind of affected your business as far as like, are you guys like on track? Are you behind, or have you pivoted? Like what's the
We
story?
haven't necessarily pivoted. In fact, I think I have actually had a few jobs like they're not coming back. Like I've had some businesses that they're shut down, they're not coming back.
Yeah.
But even despite that, I like in just this past week, I picked up 3 jobs,
Oh wow.
and I've had the mentality like just to try not to go crazy on, there may be things I want to do with my business to purchase, or you know
Yeah.
new equipment and things like that, but it's just like, just hold off for now because we don't know how things may go in the future, but just trying to uh, keep sensible about how much growth we're doing. I
Mhm.
mean, personally, I think our year is going to be okay. I
Mhm.
haven't really looked at from where we shut down to where we are right now, but I think we're staying steady.
Mhm. Well, that's good. Have you guys transitioned to doing more residential since some of the commercial dropped off? Not really?
No, we're still doing commercial. I mean, I have picked up a few more residential jobs,
Hmm.
but they're the ones that are like, uh, I'll call you like when the season changes, like every 3 to 6 months, 3 or 4 6 months.
So you just picked up some more commercial jobs, and that's 90% of your work. So it kind of got me curious. Do you have any kind of like tips or tricks on how to get commercial work? What do you guys do?
So what I do is I'm always like, when I'm going on my route, I will always keep my eyes open for any potential job buildings that are getting. You can clearly see that people are trying to open a business,
Hmm.
and if it's extremely early in the process, I mean, you can leave a business card. Like I had one business that it was an old furniture store, but now it's being turned into like a family fun center. And I actually got to talk to the owners that were there, but it's still very early in the process. And sometimes, you don't want to go to a place that's literally just got the rafters being put up. It's not even like finished on the inside. That's just a waste of time.
They'll forget about you by the time it's ready to be.
Exactly. Or they're not even going to be there yet, the people you really need to see.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's usually just you keep your eyes peeled for businesses that are clearly being made and being built. And if you kind of take a look there and kind of look inside and see if they're getting pretty close to opening,
Hmm.
or there's clearly going to be furniture getting put in here soon,
Hmm.
that's a good time to, if you've got business cards, to leave your information to them and just say, hey, I'm a local window cleaner. I service, some of the area, and I'd like to leave a card with you if you guys are interested. Give me a call, or, if you'd like an estimate, give me a call. I would love to come by and give you an estimate.
Right. So basically, you're always like looking for opportunities.
Yes.
You got your finger on the pulse. Your business is a stone's throw away from you. If anything new comes in, you're going to be the first one to know about it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not like I am like glued 24/7, constantly like patrolling around everywhere. It's just whenever I'm on my route, I can see like, oh, there's a new place opening up. I'll keep my eyes peeled if it's still going to be a while before I can get to it. But then, when you have an opening, just pull in, see if you can talk to somebody who owns the place or is going to be the one who takes care of the business, and you leave a card with them, and, maybe try to establish a connection in some way.
Sounds good. So I was going to ask about um, things that you've learned, maybe some lessons you've learned the hard way. Has there been any is it sometimes it's more interesting to hear about the failures than it is about the successes? Because a lot of times there's more to be learned in the failures. So since you guys, I know you have a whole lot of, history in the industry, working it before you were owners, but kind of within that time period, is there like you know, a failure that taught you a lot or taught you a lesson that, you use today?
Well, one of the bigger ones for me is knowing two things. Actually, is actually knowing my limits of what I can do,
Right.
because I don't have, I'm just still at the ground level, so to speak, with how much tools I have, what, I can't go up like 3 stories. I'm just not able to. I have a pole that can reach, but even then, my pole reach can only do so much. Sometimes some windows, you really do need to be up close and personal to it. And
Mhm.
I simply just don't have the materials to do it, at least not for at this moment. The second thing is making sure to look at the job as thoroughly as possible, because there's been a few times where I made the mistake of assuming that I knew what kind of windows these were.
Mhm.
And I got to a house job one time, and I gave her a price and everything, and I thought it was a good price and everything. I get inside and they're Pella windows,
Right.
and I didn't factor the Pella windows into the price.
Yeah.
So I I decided that's my fault, so I'm going to eat it.
Yeah.
So, and that happens occasionally. You might have a job once or twice where you didn't bid it what it should have been, but you can, if it's so severe, you may talk to the customer. I've not had anything that severe happen, but sometimes you got to take it on the chin
Mhm.
when that happens, and just learn to inspect the job thoroughly, to of your where what you're getting into.
Right. Yeah, we actually just got out of a situation with a new construction, and it was something that required a boom lift.
Mm.
And I went there and I actually inspected the windows, but they were so dirty that I couldn't really tell if there was like silicone or sticker residue, if it was really bad. And the contractor had assured me that they were not that bad. And so I have no idea why I believed him, but I did. And we went in there and we started working, and it one day turned into basically 3 days, and expensive lift that I only had bid into the price for one day, I had to get 2 days. And I mean, after that, it's just like, large, I mean, really any new construction now. Like I'm really going to have to like dot my I's and cross my T's, because that burned.
Yeah,
Did not
and
like that.
especially for ones who are just starting, and if they get involved in new construction, always try to add extra as a charge for new construction.
Mm.
especially if the windows are in bad shape.
Yeah, like a buffer. Because we try to
Yeah.
like, um, we try to get like a billable hour, but like we also on jobs like that where there's a whole lot of unknowns, we add in like a to the price like a buffer time. Like
Mm.
unfortunately, that last job, I did not add near enough a buffer time. I did add 2 extra days worth, but
Yeah.
that's something that we try to do too. Is just add, for the what ifs, the unknown, and especially when you know going into a situation like we actually just had another situation where it was old storm windows and French panes behind them, and
Oof.
the customer had assured me all the windows opened. And I had my doubts, so I walked over and I opened one of the windows. I was like, okay, all 30 of these will open. Nope.
Yeah.
I ended up having to unscrew the windows and take them off. So yeah.
Yeah. I had a house job that was like that. It had storm windows and French panes, and this was like the old. These windows were so old they had like the drawstring for raising them up,
Yep.
and when I bid it, I didn't realize some of these windows were painted shut. So there was no way for me to open them up. And so actually it worked out good for the customer because I actually told them, I said, look, I can't, there's no way for me to open these at all. So, but they were understanding, and I ended up actually reducing some of the price off for the residents just to make up for not being able to open these windows.
Yeah. Sometimes I've done that too, where like especially if it's like a dangerous situation, like if there's like a
Mm-hmm.
power line or something like that. I've actually a few times have reached out and called um, like the utility company, the provider, and
Mm-hmm.
let them know that I want to do a particular job, but there's a low power line, and they've
Yeah.
offered to depower the lines, and they've also offered to come and cover and blanket the lines. I didn't know that you could actually do that, but uh, they're looking out for your safety too. They don't want to see anybody get hurt, but
Oh, sure.
on the occasion where they were not able to do anything like that, or there was no other way to get to a window, it was just dangerous. I've just, or maybe I even overlooked something that I have done that where I will just tell a customer, hey, look, um, we can just like take that off the price or whatever. And 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna, they're not gonna push you to do something, dangerous. Don't kill you. If you're charging, let's say it's like a residence and you're charging like, you know, let's say you're charging $20 a window, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your life's not worth $20. Just like take
No, 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 no,
it, just ain't worth it.
no. And I've had, I know I've had one job that got real close to where it's like, I can't reach this window. It's too dangerous. And so I can't, and I, talked to the customer and told them it's like, there is no way for me to do this safely. And they're just like, it's okay.
Yeah.
So,
Usually they don't even care.
yeah.
You're just fine. Um, yeah, so that's been kind of fun. Um, let's talk about kind of like work-life balance. So you you work with your wife.
Mhm.
You guys must spend a lot of time together in and outside of the business. How do you kind of manage that where you're making sure that you're giving your family um, the time that it needs, but also not neglecting the business that is helping support the family? How do you do that? How do you manage that personally?
Well, one of the things that we have been doing is I just try to make sure that with my work is not, I'm not trying to grow a gigantic business. That's the mentality I've always kept with it, is like, I have nothing against anybody that wants to grow a business and, start having employees and all this stuff. I have nothing against that. That's not me. So what we do is we just try to balance how much work, like I have it worked out to where for the most part, I'm working between 2 to 3 days a week. And given what our budget is, how much, you know, what we spend and everything, we would keep it all in check. And that keeps us balanced.
Wow.
And so I try to always make sure to not add more work than I can handle.
Right.
And so, and that's something me and her always discuss is like, don't take on more and more jobs, because then we'll wind up in a position just like where we're just too stressed out. We have no time for anything else.
So how do you do that? Most people work like 5 days a week, and they're able to make ends meet, like doing full time. How do you guys make it work, working only 2 to 3 days a week? Do you guys just do your best to like make your job super profitable?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So as I have, so one thing I have started testing is that, when I purchased my route, I have not adjusted any of the prices on any of the clientele unless they've moved to a new spot.
Right.
Then I will, depending on how much has changed. But as I've added more clientele, my time is getting more limited.
Right.
So my time comes at a price now,
Right.
or, a little more higher price. And
Yeah.
so I've started to charge a little bit more, not
Right.
like an excessive amount, but just a little bit more, because it's going to make it worth my while to do the job.
Right. So you're not, your worth, basically. People talk about that all the
Yes.
time. And, one of the things that I think about sometimes is like, and I've had a struggle with taking on too much. Like if it was up to me and I didn't have my wife or other people with more experience than me telling me you can't do it all, I'd probably be trying to juggle like a bunch of different accounts
Yeah.
at the same time and just had to let it drop. So, if you're going to let something go, that's going to give you potential income, kind of the other jobs that you do have should make it worth your while enough to where you could let go of something and it's okay. Because when it comes down to it, your time is finite. There's only so much of yourself that you can give.
Yes. And that's something I just keep in mind, is just like, our time in this world is so limited.
Mm-hmm.
And while it's great, like I said, some people, they get a huge amount of satisfaction from growing the business and maintaining it and everything. And that, like I said, that I have nothing against that, but it's just my mentality is there are other things I want to enjoy in life. And so while I do enjoy my job of window cleaning, it's the best job I've had. And honestly, in my years of working, because I've also, things I didn't say before, is before I met my wife and everything, before I moved out on my own into an apartment, actually, or I had a roommate and everything, I worked retail,
Mm.
and that was difficult to deal with. And, window cleaning has not necessarily retail aspect, but just you deal with the public.
Right.
And so, that is kind of nice that I have that experience of dealing with the public. But at the same time, if I could go back, I would have started doing this like immediately out of high school.
So that's something I was going to ask you later, is like, if you could do this all over again, what's one thing you would change? So would that be the thing you would change?
Yes. I was actually trying to go to technical school, like technical college.
Right.
And I actually did go for like 2 semesters. It was a school that was privately owned. And when the owner passed away, it was sold to a company. I think it was Daymar College. I don't even think Daymar College exists any as a company.
Uh,
And
I think it does. I might be
it,
wrong.
it probably does. I don't know. I haven't kept track of it, but let me put it this way: the college that was there doesn't exist anymore. But when I was there in the middle of my semester, they fired several teachers in the middle of the semester and really ruined, most of our education. Had substitutes And even the books, they told us, not everything is 100% in the book, and the substitutes would just tell us to do stuff from the book. It's like, what am I doing here?
Right.
And so I had to pay that off. I quit the college, but
Mhm.
I owed, and I had to pay for it. But like I said, in hindsight, I would have never have went. And had I known what I could do with this line of work,
Mhm.
I could not have to work 5 days a week. I'm not having to work holidays or, the holiday hours, or, like in retail. I would have done this a long time ago. I would have done this, like I said, straight out of high school.
Yeah. A lot of people, really successful people in this industry that have gone the route of a large company have done it all without college education. And
Mm-hmm.
they're really, really smart, intelligent people. Um, it's not, I've come to realize that I can take pride in being a tradesman and developing my craft. And it's something that provides for my family, like, so it is nice to hear your perspective too, that uh, you don't have to go to college in order to be happy.
Yeah. And I mean, when I was in high school, I mean, this was before the 2008 financial crisis, because I graduated in 2004. And, you'd have the college people come in and tell you that, oh, if you don't go to college, you're going to struggle for the rest of your life. And it's just like, right out of high school. And then, around 2008, the economy plummets, and everybody, even people who I knew went to college, are struggling to pay off this degree. So it's like, life is a struggle. You're just because you have a paper that you are going to be paying for the next 20, maybe sometimes 30 years,
Yeah, sometimes.
that doesn't mean that you're going to have an easy life.
And I'm not knocking people that are interested in getting more education.
Oh, no, no, no. I would not. I'm not either. I'm not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just mean as a way as a means to an end to support your family. I do really enjoy this trade, and it's something that you know one of the only things I know how to do, but it's something I really enjoy. Um, so we're kind of getting close on our time here a little bit, but I wanted to ask you a couple of things. What are some ways that you like to unwind and relax? And I know a couple of them because we've known each other for a while. What's that?
Well, one of them for sure is I love doing video games, and since I've been able to upgrade my computer recently, I've gotten really into PC gaming and kind of getting into that more.
Mhm.
But I also like to read, but I also have started learning how to uh, ride a longboard or a skateboard, and that's been really enjoyable to do that.
Yeah, that's sweet. I remember early on when you and I first met and became friends, we kind of bonded over like nerdy stuff, like uh,
Yeah.
retro video games and comic books, different things like that.
Yeah, I remember I had a flip phone, and we were on a remodeling project together, and I left it sitting somewhere because I didn't want it in my pocket while I was, cutting tile and everything. And it was David that picked up my phone, and I had a picture. I had, it was the Civil War Marvel comic run, or
Right.
like the event run. And I had a picture of Wolverine,
Yeah.
and because I snapped a picture of that cover, and David brings me my phone. I was like, "Oh, thanks." He's like, "Oh, so you read comics?" And that's how I started kind of getting in touch with you guys.
Well, um, thanks for spending some time with us, Keenan. I'm really glad that you didn't tell any embarrassing stories about me, and we're
Oh
almost
man,
out.
we could
Nope,
spend time doing that.
we're almost wrapped up here.
But like the time you
Nope.
drank all Jones soda that I got, the
I
variety
honestly don't
pack.
know
I
where this
came
story is.
home, I had just got it, and you went through like 10 bottles.
Okay. Sounds like me raiding the refrigerator
Now, to be fair, you and David probably both were drinking that many, so it's okay.
with the Jones soda.
Yeah.
Right. know where you were going with this. You're like, the time you drank and then it froze. I was like, oh, what is happening here? All right. Well, anyway, thanks for joining us, Keenan, on the Into the Flow podcast. I really appreciated getting to know you and talk with you and learn a little bit about your business. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I hope that your business continues to do well.
Thank you.
All right. This is Joel with the End of the Flow podcast signing out.